name is Steve Warner, and I am one of the leaders kind of putting this together. And as we continue to move forward, we wanted to really kind of communicate what the goal is and then also what you can expect this week and the next two. The goal that we have here is to equip, empower, and encourage families to be able to intentionally come up with or put together a plan, an intentional plan, where they can disciple one another, where parents can take ownership of the discipling of their own children, where grandparents and aunts and uncles can do so as well. And so with this whole thing, I want us to understand within the context, no one that is going to present, whether it be myself or Pastor Steve, well maybe Pastor Steve, he's my boss, I probably should say this. Pastor Steve, yes, but some of the other parents are going to share. None of us are in any way professionals in this way. Instead, we are co-laborers, and we're in this journey together to attempt to try to learn how we can best disciple the people that God, the students, the children that God has placed within our homes and within maybe the homes of our grandchildren. Or our children as well. So tonight we want to focus on strategic parenting. We're going to look at some specific ways to step into this idea of having a plan when basically you're putting together how you're going to engage as a family, maybe devotional thoughts, that type of thing. And so the big goal tonight is to look at how you can parent. And I just want to say this, it's important to note that it is not, parenting is not something that's just done by mom and dad. Some of you know this as grandparents or maybe even aunts and uncles or step-parents, whatever that looks like within your context. Parenting is done by anyone that has the opportunity within the family to be able to engage and has influence within the life of the child. Next week, we're going to focus a little bit more on what home discipleship looks like. We're going to look at what it means for a family to function together, going away from not just parenting, but also how students and children can be involved in the process of coming together as a family and growing from one another and really just kind of learning and teaching one another as they move forward. And then the third week, we're going to look at our personal lives. We're going to ask you to delve into your own relationship with Christ, because we understand and we know that our own relationship with Christ is going to have an impact on how we engage with the other individuals within our life, namely the people we spend the most time with and that we have the deepest relationships with, and that is our family. And so within these 3 weeks, we're going to spend an opportunity to be able to hear some mini lectures from some of the pastors here at Grace Point. At the same time, we've also got some people some families that want to share and talk about their experience, maybe some positive experiences they've had through just the opportunity of being able to put together a plan intentionally, or maybe at the same time sharing through some failures that they might have had and some different things that they've done incorrectly, but how they've had evaluative experiences and they've been able to learn from those things as well. So we're excited about these 3 weeks. We're excited about what God's going to do. We're excited about the dialogue we hope this creates within your home and at your tables and maybe throughout the rest of the weeks as well. And one of the things that we want to do is we want to give you some tools to be able to continue to engage with us. We're going to come here for an hour, maybe a little bit more per week, but that is not the end. It's not like we're going to have a gap between these hours. What we are encouraging is that you continue to engage. And one of the things that we've done is if you pull out your smartphone, if you brought one or a tablet, whatever you've got with you, on your table there's a little card, there's a little two-way card that's sitting on the table that has either a URL, or you can use you have an iPhone, you can use your camera now with the newest phones, and you can go to that QR code to be able to access that site. And basically what this is going to do is going to bring you to Google Slides, and it gives you the opportunity to engage with us. And throughout the night, if one of us is speaking or if someone is being interviewed, if you have follow-up questions or you have additional questions, maybe as you're sitting at the table during an open discussion table time, questions come up that you can't answer or that you're trying to figure out, maybe you want more information on it, when you go to this site, you'll be able to post those, and those will go directly to us. At the same time, I will say this, everybody can view them. So don't you can't put this if you want. Steve, your sweater looks ridiculous. Don't put that on there, because I don't want to see how many thumbs up that gets later on. So if you want to put that, you can, but know that everybody else is going to see it. It's going to hurt my feelings. So anyway, and you can also, if you look at each one, there's already one question there. It says, what's a good devotional we can do as a family? It's already got one thumbs up right there. You can thumbs up that, and then the more they get, the more we know that that's an appropriate question to be able to address. We will be doing some of these things online via Facebook throughout the week. We'll be answering some of the questions with videos. At the same time, throughout the night and different nights, as we plan for the next week, we've got some white space that we want to fill by being able to engage with you in specific things. And so if there's stuff that comes up a lot, we'll definitely be able to push into those things as we move forward. But we're excited about this opportunity to be able to engage with you as we move forward and look at these different things. So make sure that you pull that up and you use that as an opportunity to be able to engage with us. Let's see. That was about all I wanted to cover at this point. I do have something I want to move into to progress this engagement. But before I do, would you bow your heads with me and as we commit this time in prayer to God and to the service that He might have for us. Heavenly Father, we thank you for these moments. We thank you for this opportunity to be able to come here and to sharpen one another, to learn from one another, to be able to just have open dialogue and conversation, to be able to learn maybe from those that maybe have some wisdom or some time in this thing called parenting or this thing called family. God, I pray that this would be a time where we would just spur one another on. Where, Father, where we would go from this place and we would gain maybe some new insight and some new knowledge, but at the same time that our paradigm might shift a little bit, that we would have a better understanding of who you are and how you want us to engage with the people that you've entrusted in our care. God, we lift this time up to you. We ask, Father, that you would just allow us to seek and to see you through it, maybe during the laughs, the conversation, the prayer time, or whatever it might be. Father, I pray in all of it that you would be, your name would be proclaimed and that you would be sought. And God, I just ask for your continued guidance as we engage together in this thing called family. In your Son's holy name that we pray. Amen. All right, I already told you to pull out your smartphone. I'm going to ask you to keep it out. And what we're going to do is we're going to do a little quiz together, okay? And before you say, no, I'm not doing this, I'm not smart, I don't like trivia, let me just say, we do have a quick little prize we're going to hand out. A family membership to the Children's Museum here in Brookings. So if you think you are the fastest, if you think that you're going to know the answers, this could be yours. So here's what we're going to do. I want you to pull out your phone, pull out a web browser if you don't already have this app, and type in Kahoot.it into your web browser. Kahoot.it. When you get there, you're going to put in this code, 787676. You will be entered in, and then once we've had everybody in, then we will begin the quiz together. The funny part that already that I'm seeing is we play this with the students, and already there's like 1 million names already in there because they know what we're doing. So just so you know, your kids know this quiz. It might be fun for you to go home and to maybe try it with them because you can create your own. But the funny part is too, and I'm already seeing some names coming up, it's like actually your name. Most of the time theirs are taco, or they put up emojis and that kind of thing too. So go ahead and get them in there. If we get a little bit of sound, that'd be great, Jordan. But I'll give you 2 minutes to sign on, to get your name in. When you see your name up there, you can do a little, if you want to too. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, somebody's away. Manuel's away. I heard it. Nice. Give me another minute to get him in there. You are competing for a family membership to the Children's Museum. We just say it is almost Christmas. Grandparents, maybe this is something to give to your children. It's a great gift. Not just a stocking stuffer. It can be wrapped up in a giant box, but it is a giant gift. We're getting them in. Who needs more time? Anybody? All right. Web browser, Safari for some, Internet Explorer for others. Anybody else? No other tech-savvy people in here? All right, here we go. 3, 2, 1. I see an emoji. I love it. 3, 2, 1, go. Here we go. You can start it up, Jordan. All right, so here's how it will work. When they come up, you have to answer the question. Obviously, there'll be 4 answers. The faster you answer, the more points you get. Ready, go. Who are the, I'm going to put my ears so I can't read them. Who are the 3 pastors of Next Gen? Ben, Jesse, Aaron, Steve, Dave, Steve, Jesse, Aaron, Ben, the 3 Stooges. If you put the 4th one, you will not win. This is kind of supposed to be funny. Maybe. Who did that? How good at it? Oh, okay. 27 people got that right, correct? And the leader we have right now is Bob. Is that Bob pointing? Another Bob. Wow, you guys. All right, we're going to wake up. Here we go. Let's go to the next one. Currently, how many households are there in the U.S.? 1 million, 125 million, 150,000, or 150 million, billions and billions and billions. Get them in, get them in. 10 seconds. You're having trouble. Got it? If it took you that long, you're not going to get your winning points. Nice! The answer is 125 million. Where are we at? Coffee nut. Where's coffee nut? New favorite right here, coffee nut. All right, let's go. Number three. Number three. What percentage of Americans have a step relative? Have a step relative. 25, 65, 75, 100. Let me just make a note. If you work for the church, you may not win, Jordan Line. Sorry. 65 is correct. Wow. You guys did great. That's awesome. All right, number 4, coffee nut still in the lead. Tasha moved up 32 places. Great job. All right. Where does the U.S. rate in divorce rate among all nations? First, third, 7th, 10th. 6 seconds, get it in. Right now you're basically getting 15 points out of 1,000. First is actually correct, and it wasn't even close. So, all right, here we go. Let's move on. Christy jumped in the lead. Christy, where are you? Great, all right. Next up, here we go. Somebody wants to talk about it. At what age does a child begin to realize that advertising can be untruthful and misleading? Age 5, 8, 12, or never? Some of you think never. My child, I tell you what. My kid is 25 and they can't get that dinosaur is not going to be as cool. 2 seconds. And the answer is 8 years old. 8 years old. Still got a majority. You guys are doing great. Let me just say this. I know Christmas is coming up. I think when we look at this, especially for me, when the advertisements come up, my child was like, I want that, I want this. It's okay to say, hey, that toy is not going to be worth it when it comes. So make sure that they know it's not a good investment. Christy's still in the lead. Erickson's in third. Chelsea in second. All right, here we go. In 2008, how much money was spent purchasing toys online during the Christmas season? 100 million, 500 million, a billion, 2 billion. Lock in your answer. 5 seconds. 3, 2, 1. The answer is, sadly, $2 billion. And I was ventured to say none of those toys are still working at this point. Erickson's first place. Here we go. Next up, who is this? There'll be a picture. Ready, set, go. Wow, the answers are rolling in. Lance, did you get it? Oh, Lance. Oh, not bad, not bad. That was kind of a gimmick. Let me just say, I put that up there to help us to just be reminded of the fact that there are a lot of celebrities, there's personalities out there that are vying for an impact on our child, on your children's lives. And so just remember that, I mean, obviously that was an easy one, so you do it, but there are a lot of people out there that you might not even know that are having an impact on their life. So just be aware of those types of things and of the industry that's out there. All right, what's next? How much time does the average family spend together each day? 14, 24, 34, 44 minutes. How fast can you eat dinner and then get back to TV? That's the question here, right? 14, 24, 34, 43. 5 seconds. Time is up. 34 minutes. Just over a half hour. Just over a half hour. Erickson's are they're kind of pulling away here. Who is the smiley emoji? Who is that? That's who I'm pulling for right now. Oh yeah, all right, here we go. Smiling while you raise your hand, that's great. All right, here we go. Next one up, kind of the same, one on the opposite side. How much time does an average preteen or teen spend looking at a screen each day? 3 to 6, 4 to 7, 5 to 8, 6 to 9. The answer is 6 to 9 hours staring at a screen during the day. And it's actually another 35 minutes over the weekend, which should take a lot of time to be live. Alright, I think we've got one more. Who has the ability to have the greatest impact on the life and development of your child? Church, school, friends, cue the parents. Very well done. That was not necessarily a trick, but it actually is an actual statistic. Our winner is the Ericksons. Well done. Great job. I'll bring it back to you. You don't have to come all the way up. Great job. Rounding up the podium. Oh, it's in the top three. Not too bad. And Chelsea at number 3. Where's the rest of the results? We look on that real quick. Oh, I did do them all. Okay. But you can see on your phone, it'll tell you what place you did it. I'm pretty sure. Great job. Let me just say this. This was meant to be like a fun thing to kind of get us started off. Hopefully, it began the engagement factor because that's what we want this to be. It's not just a talking head up front sharing all the answers, but it's an engagement where we can come together and we can talk and discuss different things. At this time, I am going to turn the platform over to Pastor Steve. He's going to come and share a little bit. I actually am going to go in the back and take notes. I'm excited to hear what he has to say, but please join me in welcoming your pastor, Pastor Steve.
I have more time, so I'm pretty relaxed and I want to talk to you. I hope from my heart, I hope this helps you quite a bit. One of the things that concerns me about the Christian community, and I include myself in that, is oftentimes how we don't do our Christian community on purpose. And I think oftentimes when we do family life, we just kind of think we just do it. And unfortunately, that usually doesn't have the greatest outcome. I have the saying, if you shoot at nothing, you hit it every time. The trouble is you're shooting at nothing. It's not a very good target to shoot at. And so what I share with you tonight is mainly to give you some way of shooting your life when it comes to family interactions and specifically parenting tonight, where there's a little bit done more, a little bit more on purpose, okay? And so I'm sharing, I hope, with an attitude of humility. I have 6 kids and 13 grandkids. I have a lot of experience. Sometimes I think I get it figured out, then I know I don't. You know what I'm saying? All the kids are different. And so I'm not giving you any kind of cookie cutter thing here, but I think this has proven very helpful in my own life, and I hope that as I share with you, it will be helpful for you. This year at Grace Point, we've been all about intentionality, and so this kind of fits right into that scheme of things. So when I look at parenting, I use this thing called a funnel. And I think we have a picture of it. It's definitely in your note-taking guide. The funny thing about this is we put this together about in 2015, I guess, is what Virginia was telling me. And I intended to use it in depth in Message to Mother's Day, and I didn't. I just casually blasted through it. So here we are, basically 3 years later, getting back to this. And why I use this is I'm a very visual person, and it helps me kind of understand and see the different phases that kids tend to go through and how my interaction in parenting and grandparenting and being an uncle should then be effective, okay? So this isn't just for parents. If you're a grandparent in here today, you have a tremendous position of influence. So I think this is helpful in that case also. So here we go. When you look at that funnel, the bottom is very restricted, and it has to do with control when the child is very young, under 5 years of age. And at that point in their life, they need a lot of control. Listen, a 2-year-old cognitively cannot do life on their own. I see this frequently when I go to the supermarket. I see some poor mom having a problem with a 2-year-old, reasoning with that 2-year-old like they're, 20 years old. And I just want to go up there, put my arm around her and say, listen, do yourself, the child, and the rest of us a favor. Treat them like a 2-year-old. They're a 2-year-old. They don't think right. And you just have to be their control at that point. And your treatment of them is going to be very authoritative. And what you're trying to teach that young person is obedience. They need to hear your voice, and they need to understand what it means to be obedient, okay? It's an incredibly important concept to teach young children. And so, at that point, you're not going to be their best friend, you're going to be their parent. You follow what I'm saying? I was listening years ago to a Dobson broadcast, and someone called in and said they heard this one person tell their little child, I'm not your friend, I'm your father. And everyone goes, oh, like that was bad. I'm going, well, wait a minute now. Is that bad? And what was the context of the father saying that? Because when a child's young, what's your first calling as mom and dad? Be mom and dad. and especially when the young, it's going to be very authoritative, and you're going to be very controlling, and that's okay, because I don't know about you, but I had a bunch of little ones with me, and grown-ups too. You don't have a normal conversation with a 2-year-old. They're just cognitively not capable of doing that. And so what you have to do is do a lot of control and a lot of direction of that little one. And so I call this the control phase. And it's characterized by the parents being authoritative, and it's got the outcome of hopefully obedience. They just need to learn this concept of obedience. And Ephesians 6:1 talks about this idea that the beginning requirement of the child to the parent is one of obedience. And then you as parents need to have really reasonable expectations of your little ones. If you don't, you will fall into the category of Ephesians 6:4, and you will exasperate them. And so you can't expect your 2-year-old to do things that they're cognitively and developmentally not ready to do. And so you can't have these expectations on them to act like a little adult because they're a little child. All right? And if you have that expectation, what you do is you frustrate them and you frustrate yourself. And so here's what I think is kind of the ruling or governing kind of approach with ones in that age. Set out clear boundaries. They're very concrete little beings. When they obey, praise and praise and praise and praise and praise and praise them. Amen? They need to hear that reward, and they need to know that they're doing something that's pleasing to you. I used to love this about Vicky whenever we were potty training, and the kid did a good job. She gave him a chocolate chip. They do a lot of good things for a chocolate chip at that age. And people say, wasn't that bribing? So what? They're 2 years old. You're trying to teach them, some basic things, right? And it's okay to do some of that kind of thing. They don't understand delayed gratification at that age. Amen? And they need to have instantaneous feedback. And so what you don't want to be doing with your little 2-year-old is saying, no, 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 good night. That's a terrible thing to do. So somehow they have to win, and so when they do something really well, praise them and praise them and praise them and praise them and praise them. And I watched Abby do that. That's my fifth born girl with her 2 boys. She's one of the best moms I've seen. She praises these boys all the time. I wanted to say, good for you, because that's exactly what you want to do. But get this, most young children can begin to learn some things. It's okay for you to ask your little ones, take your dishes to the dishwasher or to the sink. You hang up your coat. Put your shoes wherever you put your shoes. I don't know what you do. You follow what I'm saying? What you want to do is already begin to teach them to contribute and to serve. After all, when they get to be adults, what's going to measure their success, partly as an adult, is that they have these concepts of contributing and serving them. And the family is a great unit to do that. It's safe, and usually you can make it easy for them to succeed. So even with little ones, begin to work towards these concepts that you want them to grow into. And so don't just let them exist. You have to be part of what's going on and be part of the family. It'll be a lot more annoying because you can just do it faster yourself. But that will be the case when they're 16 too, if you don't train them. Right? So begin to invest and begin to do that kind of thing. So this first stage is called the control stage. Then after that, when they get to be about 5 years old, they move from this, what I would call control stage interaction with you as a parent, to where you become more like a coach. What a coach does is he's still very directional of the kid. Okay, let me just talk coaching. If you coach, you lay out the plays for your players. You know their weaknesses. You know their strengths. You're working with them. You're trying to make them succeed. You're very interactive with them, and you're overseeing them fairly closely. Amen? So you've got to look at yourself as your child's coach. You're beginning to coach the child at 5 to 10 years of age on how to do life, how to win, how to succeed. And I'm talking family relationships here now, okay? And so you begin to invest in them and do a lot of training. A lot of repetition. And you want to do it with a gentle spirit and with patience. And so you're not only training them to be really good, like in schoolwork and all that kind of thing. We're concerned with training them to be a decent human being, amen? So So you work on them looking at an adult when they talk to an adult and responding back to the adult in an appropriate way, right? And if they do it well, you tell them afterwards, hey, you were really good there. You did a good job of talking to Mr. So-and-so or Mrs. So-and-so. And by the way, I would make my young children use the title Mr. and Mrs. Just letting you know, I think it's a good thing for them to respect and kind of learn that respect. And then when they get close and familiar, they can switch to a first name basis or whatever. But these things aren't like ancient old ideas. They're good ideas to instill into your children. But anyway, there's still a lot of authority in your part. But you know what you're beginning to do as a coach? You're letting the kid play the game themselves. And I'm telling you what, that's a little scary. Because sometimes they're going to mess up. And they're not going to do things right. But even at age 5 to 6, you've got to begin to let them interact and strike out to do some things on their own. But the key thing here, get this stuff. Now, when they're little, you're controlling them, and you are training them, but you're training them when they're under 5 to listen to your voice and basically obey. When they get older than that, you're beginning to train them to be able to do some of this stuff on their own. Right? And make some decisions on their own and understand how to interact with other people a little more on their own. Now we get to what I call the early teens. And God help you all when you're in that stage. Because that's a hard stage. When the kid gets 10 and to about 13, their body goes through all these changes, right? Emotionally and hormonally. And they're growing up and they begin to have all this strange stuff happen to them. And now I call that phase, you become more like a consultant. You've done life, and every now and then you have to dive in and just help your kids figure some things out. But by and large, they're beginning to do their life kind of on their own. And hopefully you've trained up to this point where they can start making good biblical decisions, and they have some of that basic training, because that's what's supposed to take place when you're coaching. You're supposed to train them with some biblical concept. Now, when you get to this age here of 10 to 13, you're moving away from authority and you're moving much more into relationship. And you use your relational influence versus mom or dad told you so. You spend an awful lot of time now telling them whys. You tell them your biblical philosophy. You begin to put into them a moral compass. You begin to talk to them deeper and talk to them on a more challenging heart level. And I think this is very appropriate at this time in their life to begin to say, hey, I remember when I was your age and I struggled with this and I failed this way and I succeeded this way. And you begin to relate to them more and they begin to see a little bit more of a human side of you and who you really are. You begin to tell them about your own stories and you begin to have a whole different kind of interaction going on with them. And you've got to remember, you are the consultant. You've done a lot more life than them. They may not think that. You have a lot more experience. And use that experience to talk to them about it and share with them, things that you've gone through and be very, very willing to be interruptible. And throughout the day, a lot of this is so organic. Kids are moody, and especially at this age, they're really moody. Sometimes they want to talk with them. Drop what you're doing, talk with them. Don't worry about the task, worry about the relationship with your child more. If I look back at one thing I wish I did better was lots of times I had opportunities to go really deep with my kids, but I don't know how you are. I'm pretty much a task-oriented kind of personality, and I was in the middle of something, and I should have just dropped it. Vicki does a much better job at this than I do. And unfortunately, I don't know how your kids are. My kids always wanted to talk at 12 o'clock at night. It was like a conspiracy or something. Now, she's running on 8 cylinders at 12 o'clock at night. That would be my wife. My engine's turned off. I'm just worthless at that. It's a joke. I just can't stay awake past about 8 o'clock at night. But at any rate, so try to be willing and available when the child wants to talk to you. Now, I'm going through this kind of fast, so I'll kind of wrap it up when we get to the end here. But then, if you've gone through these phases, right, you'll notice that you're moving from being very authoritative with them to being very relational with them. All right? You're letting them go a little bit. You're letting them be their own person a bit. And then you get to that age of, oh my goodness, 13 to 16, right? And that's interesting time period in your child's life. At that point, your influence to that kid basically is relational. You really aren't going to influence them by becoming the authority, saying, well, I told you to do this, now do this. That just doesn't work with a teenager very well. You'll exasperate them and you'll get angry yourself. And basically what you're working towards here, as you're going up this cone and you're getting more and more relational, is that you're becoming your child's best friend. Part of the goal of parenting is by the time your child gets to be 16, 17, 18 years old, you're best friends and you're like their counselor. They come to you for advice and listen to you. And I know that this is a challenge because oftentimes when kids get to be 16, something natural happens. It's called, I think mom and dad are the two stupidest human beings in the whole world. And they really do think you don't know a thing. And I've been through that several times with our kids. It's amazing how when they get to be about 21 to 22, all of a sudden, you're pretty smart again. And so what you have to do is just realize that's probably going to happen. That's pretty normal. Don't try to beat them into submission, and don't try to be the authority. Say, you got to look for those moments when they're approachable and teachable and coachable, and then step into those moments hard and be relational with them. Value them as a person. Always lift them up as a person. And this consultant phase and this phase, that we're talking about here, being counselor, you need to begin to dream with your kids. This is where I think parents think, oh, I got them to 13, I can rest. No. Now what you want to do is begin to say, what do you want to do with your life? Can we help you? Are you working towards that? How's your walk with God going? You got that priority down? What's your passions? And you begin to talk to them on a different level. And you begin to dream with them of what could be in their lives. And so there's this kind of positive exchange going on between you as a parent and your child. And so, that's just such a good, positive exchange to have. Now, here's what I see happen. I want you to hear my heart on this, right? Because I'm going to say this right, I think. Oftentimes, you're so excited, especially if it's your first or second kid, and you haven't a lot of kids yet. Once you have a lot of kids, all this illusion is gone. But you want that little child to be your best buddy. And so right away, with your 1 and 2 year old, you just want them to be your best friend. And so right away, at 2 years old, you're trying to treat them like your best friend. You're having these long, extended conversations with a kid that's cognitively going, what? And you're thinking, oh, they just love me so much. And you've got the cone flipped upside down, and all this is going on, and that's not helping the child. It's really not helping you. And then what happens is the child's having too much freedom, and if other kids don't come along, because other kids usually come along and they straighten out the parents. Once you get to 3 or 4, you quit doing that stuff. And it all kind of works itself out. But if it doesn't, then what happens is the kid might get to be 14, 15, and you realize, I created a little monster here. And then there's this reaction, I got to be authoritative. And you try to do the authority card on a 14-year-old that you've been relational with all the way through. Who thinks they're equal footing with you. Follow what I'm saying as a parent. And that's when the mess really begins to happen. And things can just get nasty really fast. And so you just want to watch out for that. I think this thing is really valuable because it kind of gives you a way to direct your parenting. And ultimately what you want to have and what you want to create in your child is a lover of Jesus Christ, a responsible adult who honors their mom and dad. That's ultimately what you want to create. Now, granted, everybody has free will, and you can do everything really well as a parent. I can tell you what, and you can still have that kid where you go, what I do wrong, you bang your head on the wall. This is the way it is. There's free will here, and all those things are factors in here too. But ultimately, what you want to produce is what? A lover of Jesus, a responsible adult, and the relationship with you has now moved to honor. And they respect you and treat you, with some esteem as a parent. Not that you're getting off on some kind of power figure, but that's ultimately what you want. This mirrors what was really supposed to happen with us in our walk with the Lord Jesus Christ. It begins with what? Obedience. Jesus says, if you love me, you'll obey what I command. But then, as the more you know Jesus and the more you walk with Jesus, it's supposed to develop into this love relationship where you just love to please your Lord. And no longer are you asking questions of what can I do and what can I not do to still be okay with Jesus. That's very immature asking. When I hear people say, well, can I do this and still be okay with Jesus? I say, oh, they're down there in elementary school. They're at the beginning stages of their walk with Christ. Because the longer you walk with Christ, the less you ask those kind of questions. You mature into how can I please Christ in what I'm doing, and how can I be devoted to Him, and all that kind of thing. And so, same with family. I think these dynamics relate on purpose. All right? And so as you bring your child through this kind of understanding of family relationship, guess what the second benefit is? They kind of understand what's supposed to happen with their walk with God too. At the same time. And you definitely should put those two together and talk on that level. But on this upper level, let me just say how this works just a little bit here. So, my son goes off to college. He's my third born in our family, Nate. He's a great kid. Well, he's not a kid. He's 31. But anyway, so he's probably older than some of you guys in here. But anyway, he goes off to college. He's 17-year-old. He's an overachiever. He graduated from high school early, year early, blah, 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 all that kind of junk. And so he gets to college at UND, and he didn't have a really good first semester. And that happens a lot with freshmen. And so I was talking with him about it, and I could have come at him with an angry spirit, because I was helping him pay for this like big time. Like, what are you doing here? And we did talk on that level a little bit, and I said, what is going on? You've always been a good student, and is this hard? And he was at that point pursuing physical therapy or something like that in the medical field. And he said, I just hate what I'm doing. I hate the schoolwork. It's all math. It's all science. And I just hate it. I hate going to class. And I said, you're not getting up and going to your early classes, are you? He goes, no. He goes, well, that'll never work. And so we began to talk, and I said, and so instead of getting angry with him and saying, like, you're a failure, I said, okay, we're at this relational thing now. He's an adult, even though he's 17. He's at college. So I said, well, what's your passions? What do you really like to do as a person? This evidently isn't scratching that itch very well. And he goes, no. He said, I really like English, and I just enjoy all things English, which always surprises me. All my kids are like this. None of them, anyway, didn't have this time, because I have no idea why that is. But so I go, so what does that mean to you? He goes, I don't know. He goes, well, should you pursue that? Should you pursue your passion? Why don't you just pursue English? Well, what is stopping you from doing that? He goes, I don't know what I do for a job. I said, oh, okay. So could you be like a teacher, or whether you could be whatever? I don't know what you do with English majors, That's pretty much in depth. We were talking about that. The only thing I can come up with, you could be a teacher, But we had this really long conversation, and he said, I'm going to switch majors, and I'm going to go into this. I'm going to go into English, and I'll figure it out as I go through. You see, I was helping him to dream a dream that fit with his passions and fit with what he wanted to do. I didn't lay on my dream on him, and I treated him relationally. You have to get to that place with your 16, 17, 8-year-olds. You've got to get to that place, because that's the only way they're going to respond. It's a lot more messy. It's a lot more time consuming. But I just want to say this. Nate went on and just excelled through the rest of school and did really well. By the way, he did become an English teacher, and he had to put 47 applications out before he got a job. But he got a job. You know what I mean? So, wasn't he? And I'm going to just, because I'm proud of him, he also became Teacher of the Year in Minot, North Dakota, a couple years after that. And because of that, when he moved to Cedar Falls, he got the first job he put his name in for. So, anyway, so he did well, but this was precisely what he was afraid of, is the hardness of getting a job, kind of thing was there a little bit. But so that's an explanation of how this parenting cone, I think, can be really helpful. And what you want to do is do whatever you do on purpose. Amen? You want to just do it on purpose. You may start over again. Something doesn't work. So what? You know what's really cool about little kids, especially 1 and 2-year-olds? They're very pliable. You can kind of mess up and start over again, and they don't even know you messed up or starting over again. And so, you're going to have to try some things. I remember with my little ones, when we had Liz and Bree were learning to ride bikes. Some of you are in that phase of life, and boy, they would go scooting up the street and they'd go, oh no, I'm going to get killed by a car. You know what I mean? And so I'd sit there and try to explain to the 3-year-old and the 2-year-old why this car can kill them. They're going to go, okay. And then they would in the street, like right after that. And so I'm going, okay, that's not going to work. And so what I did was I took out 3 2x4s, put them at the end of my driveway, and I said, see this 2x4? You go over that, the trike goes up in the garage. They didn't go past the 2x4 anymore because there was more concrete and they could understand it. So the problem wasn't that they were super disobedient. The problem was I wasn't, as a parent, understanding how to get them to understand what I was talking about. All right? So sometimes step back from the situation and just ask God to give you some insight. But think on this a lot. Let it hang on your office or something, wall if you have that, or your home fridge. Put it up. Don't just ignore it. Think about how this applies to you as a parent. And I can say with some certainty that if you really think on this and start applying it, it will help you when you're parenting. So I think I'm going to quit with that. I don't know how long I'm supposed to. I have no idea what I'm doing here. So there's no Randy Hansen. So am I done? Is this good enough? Okay. I don't have a great big ending or anything. I'm done. So.